You know that feeling when your software just feels kind of dumb? Like it's rigid and just stuck in its ways? Well, all of that is about to change. We're on the verge of a massive shift in how technology works, where AI stops being just a cool feature and starts being the entire foundation.
And look, this isn't just some sci-fi dream. As Benjamin Hayes puts it here, AI is officially moving out of the research lab and into the very core of the apps you and I use every single day. This is the new reality of software, happening right now. Okay, so to really get a handle on where we're going, we first have to talk about the problem with where we are. See, there's this big clash, a fundamental conflict between the kind of software we've been building for decades and what this new wave of AI can do. Let's break this down. On one hand, you have traditional software. It's like a train on a track. It follows a very strict set of rules. Think about a calculator app. It does exactly what it's told and absolutely nothing more. But on the other hand, you've got AI-driven software. This stuff is dynamic. It understands context. And the big one, it actually learns. It's less like a train and more like a self-driving car, constantly adapting to the road ahead. And that tension, that gap between rigid and intelligent, is what's kicking off this whole revolution. So you have this problem, right? How do you bridge that gap? Well, the answer is actually surprisingly simple and kind of genius. We need to stop thinking about these huge, powerful large language models as these giant, complex beasts and start thinking of them as simple, smart little components that you can just plug in. The best way to picture an AI plugin is like a Lego block. But instead of being a little piece of plastic, it's a block of intelligence. It's this self-contained little unit that does one specific AI thing incredibly well, like maybe summarizing a huge document or understanding the emotion in a customer review. You can just snap this intelligence block right onto any app, and boom, you've just given it a new superpower. And this is where it gets really, really cool. Because they're just like Lego blocks, they're super easy to integrate. You can build one amazing plugin and then reuse it in a dozen different apps. And upgrading your AI? It becomes as simple as swapping out an old block for a new one. It just makes building powerful AI tools so much faster and way more flexible. All right, so this whole intelligence Legos idea is fantastic, but you can't just have all those blocks floating around, right? You need that big green base plate to connect everything together. That's where a tool called Semantic Kernel comes into play. You can think of it as the universal adapter for all your AI plugins. Now, the fancy term for it is an AI orchestration framework, but the conductor analogy is honestly perfect. Its job is to be the conductor of an entire orchestra of code. It tells your regular code when to play, it tells an API to go fetch some data, and it tells the right AI plugin when to chime in with its skill. It makes sure all these different parts work together in perfect harmony to get a really complex job done. So, how does it pull this off? Well, it really has three main parts. First, you've got the kernel itself. That's the brain of the operation, the conductor. Second are the functions. These are the actual skills. Some are just regular code, like grabbing a file, while others are AI functions, like summarizing that file. And third, and this part is crucial, is memory. This is what lets the app remember things from one interaction to the next. It's the secret sauce that makes a conversation with the AI feel natural and not like you're talking to something with a 5-second memory. Okay, so now we have the blueprint, right? We've got our AI Legos, our plugins, and we're snapping them on to our semantic kernel baseplate. That all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like out there in the real world? It's time to shift from the how to the wow, because this isn't just a concept, it's already changing everything. Let's start with something huge, healthcare. Picture a doctor trying to figure out a patient's really complex symptoms. Instead of just relying on memory and books, an AI plugin can now read the doctor's notes, compare those symptoms against millions of medical papers in seconds, and suggest possible diagnoses. We're also seeing plugins that completely automate the boring task of writing up notes, or even predict who's at high risk for a disease before it ever shows up. The impact here is just profound. We're shifting away from tools that are basically just digital filing cabinets to tools that are active, intelligent partners, helping doctors do the most important work there is, healing people. That's the power we're talking about. And you see the exact same story playing out in finance. Take fraud detection. The old systems just use simple rules, like flagging your card if you used it in another country. The new AI plugins can watch thousands of transactions a second and learn your personal spending habits so well they can spot fraud that would look totally normal to a person. And of course, they're being used for everything from risk analysis to being your own personal investment guide.
So what this really means is that your banking app is about to stop being just a thing that shows you your balance. With these plugins, it's becoming an active financial advisor that lives right in your pocket, helping you make smarter choices with your money.
So, where does all this go? I mean, if we can plug a brain into basically any application, what's next? Well, let's zoom out for a second, because the future this is all building toward is truly mind bending. The future isn't just smart, it's autonomous.
We're starting to see the first real versions of AI agents. That's software that can take a complex goal and go figure out how to achieve it all on its own. What's even wilder is when you have multiple agents collaborating, working together like a team to solve problems. And the ultimate goal, the holy grail here, systems that actually improve themselves. Software that learns from its mistakes and gets better and better over time, with zero human help. And that really brings us to the final and most important question. What we're talking about is so much more than just making better apps. This is a fundamental change in what software is and what it can do for us. So, if our tools can finally learn, reason, and act on their own, what are the truly impossible problems that we're finally going to solve?